What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Redriveraviation. Hope you're all having a fantastic day today. And today we have our 2023 travel video for you all. I really hope each and every one of you are excited for today's video. And without any further delay, let's go ahead and get started, everybody. So today we're going to be talking about our 2023 flights that we did. We did several this year, and I thought that it was certainly indicative of its own video since we had so much going on. So I thought it'd be awesome to recap and summarize all this here in its full video. So I really hope each and every one of you are excited for today's video. And without any further delay, let's go ahead and talk about it. So no, this is not 2023 right here. This is my lifetime map, but I will show you 2023. But the purpose and the reason that I showed you this map first is just to get an overall landscape as of where I've been and all the flights that we've had here. And this is my Flight Radar 24. I highly recommend using it to log your flights, but it's a really great asset and it gives you some really cool statistics that we'll take a look at here, the visual map, and they also have a list view of all your flights too. So overall, it's a really cool resource and I'd certainly recommend it. But we're starting here with 145 flights before we click over to 2023, which had 70. So this was a huge increase for me. Usually I do anywhere from 4 to 12 flights a year usually. So it was really awesome to get to do 70 this year. There was many reasons for this. First and foremost, I did many day trips and took advantage of several Southwest sales. So I would say that's at least half, maybe a little bit over half of it. Second off, there was also a bunch of opportunity to get to travel this year. So I certainly took advantage of that. From 2020 and on, I've been facilitating money towards saving up towards some of these big trips and finally pulled the trigger on something when I found the opportunity this year. And that's what we'll talk about throughout today's video. So here's what the broad landscape of it looks like before we get into the particular flight. So here's the map, which is really cool. In fact, let me go ahead and just show you the blown up map here a little bit that you can see. I'll even blow it up just a little bit more here so you can see what we're doing. So really cool map here. As you can see, we have a variety of places in the United States, ranging from Miami, Florida, all the way over to Vancouver, British Columbia over here in Canada. So got to check out 3 countries this year, which is really cool. And obviously quite a magnitude of segments. You can see a bunch of action, particularly in this corridor right here between Chicago and obviously home base over here in Oklahoma into Texas. And we also have quite a bit of action, to be quite honest, over here, anywhere from obviously home base all the way over to San Francisco. So this area was really explored. Obviously a couple areas that certainly I hope to pick up on in the future. This East Coast area was certainly lacking, especially up here. Hope to change that, and really hoping next big goal is to make it into this area here that I've never really been to. So everywhere from Omaha up over and then back across over here to the Oregon, Idaho area. So very hopeful to get to these areas, but this is certainly huge compared to obviously 2022 doesn't even really compare, as we had 10 flights that year. So you can really see it literally increased by 700%. So what an incredible year it was for flights, and very fortunate to be in this position. What a blessing this has been. And again, taking advantage of sales and saving up really goes dividends, and I hope each and every one of you can take advantage of that as well. So let's get into a little bit of the breakdown before we talk about the actual flights themselves. So we have 58 economy flights, 9 economy pluses, and 3 in first class. We had 70 window seats, so yay to no aisles, and I hope it stays that way. 66 leisure, 4 business, and 140 of them taking place in North America, no other continents to this point. Top airport, of course, Tulsa International Airport, coming in with 32 visits, which is awesome. So that includes an origin and destination flight. So I was at Tulsa for 16 trips, if that makes sense. 16 of them were, 16 of them were an origin and 16 were a termination, if that makes sense. So 16 total visits, but you can call it 32 total flights. 17 in the Denver. Denver had a huge year. Usually it's been Dallas for me. Denver certainly stepped up this year. I believe it was 9 total visits, so that was awesome. Indianapolis 8, Chicago O'Hare 8, so both those coming up, all beating out Dallas Fort Worth only at 7, which was not really intentional, just how it fell. Oklahoma City at 7, what can you do? And Austin at 6. Southwest Airlines, just like Denver International Airport, took the cake for the most flown airline at 29. Usually it's always been American for me. However, they did come in second place here with 13. United at 8, Allegiant at 4, Delta at 4, Frontier at 3, Spirit at 2. I think there's a couple other 2s here, and obviously all the 1s that I had. For aircraft types, 737s took the way by a landslide here. As you can see, we have nearly 30 Boeing 737 flights, 14 on the 800. 13 on the 700, and then obviously 737 MAX there at 5, so over 30, I should say. 7 Airbus A320s, 4 Airbus A319s, 3 Airbus A321s, 3 170s, and a bunch of really cool aircraft down the list too. So they were really cool. And as you can see here, top routes: Denver to Tulsa 4, Tulsa to Denver 3, and then a variety of 2s, and then obviously all of our 1s. 66 segments in the US, 5 of them in Canada, and 2 in Mexico. So 3 total continents. The months were also really interesting, especially this bracket here from July to October was crazy, or really July to September was just a blur. It was crazy. That was when the majority of this took place, nearly half, if not half of it. But as you can see, January 8, February 0, March 4, April 2, May 8, June 0, which was surprising, but then July really went crazy with 15 in July, 6 in August, 14 in September, 4 in October, 6 in November, 3 in December. And then for the weekday, which is an interesting breakdown, I always feel like, we have Monday at 18 flights, Tuesday at 8 flights, Wednesday at 10, Thursday at 7, Friday at 11, Saturday at 5, and 11 for Sunday. Monday's the return home day for college, so that was half of it, and the other half just was how it felt, to be honest. But definitely expect some more in this area going forward, especially on Wednesdays, but the weekends will still remain high as well. So yeah, ultimately a really cool graph. 70 flights, you can see the breakdown there. 40,000 miles, which is crazy. 100 hours, so over 100 hours, which is super cool, and 9 tons of CO2. So certainly some really interesting statistics there, to say the least. Here's the actual flights themselves, so let's go ahead and take a look at those. So we have Southwest on 737-700 from Tulsa to Denver, really cool, on 7738 Alpha. And then also on the same day for the Denver day trip, we had the Denver to Tulsa segment on United E175, and this was 152 Sierra Yankee. And really interesting seats throughout. I'll try to note them as we go through here. Then we had the American Airlines Boeing 787-9 first Dreamliner from Dallas to Miami, 13L. So really cool to get the main cabin etched seat on that particular flight. January 12th, we had the Delta Airlines first ever Boeing 757-300 from Fort Lauderdale to Atlanta, seat 20A. Really fun flight there on 586 November Whiskey. Really glad to get a model of that. That was really cool in my opinion. Then we had this Delta Airlines Boeing 717-200, one of 2 of the year, 927 Alpha Tango from to Atlanta to Oklahoma City, and that was in 25A. Austin day trip, which has just been posted. We have Tulsa to Austin there on the Southwest 737 MAX 8 and 13F, 8760 Lima, 8531 Quebec from Austin to Love Field on the 738, and we have 490 Whiskey November from Love Field to Tulsa on 17F there for WN 501. So nice breakdown there for the Austin day trip. Next up, we have the Cabo trip, which includes 945 Alpha November from Tulsa to Dallas there in 14F, 178 Uniform Sierra American 321 from Dallas to San Jose del Cabo in 32F. This United A320 since been retired, which is unfortunate, but 403 Uniform Alpha from San Jose del Cabo to Denver, as you can see, in 28A. And then in 23F, we had 8673 Foxtrot from Denver to Tulsa. Then we have the DFW one-day trip, where we have Tulsa to Dallas-Fort Worth here on 8F in 817 November. And then in 226 November, we have the Envoy 175 in seat 1A in the ERJ 175. Last-minute mile redemption due to DFW TSA being ridiculous, and that's when I got pre-check right after that, so I ensured that I wouldn't ever miss a flight again. I was originally on the 8 a.m. 737-800 and ended up on the 11 a.m. ERJ 175, so what a sequence that was, but certainly panned out in the end. Then we have Tulsa to Austin, and that was 5852 Zulu in 7A, and then the same plane continuing on the Indianapolis there in 9F, so quite an interesting back-to-back there, even though it wasn't the same flight number. Then we have the Spirit Airbus E319 in the big front seat from Indianapolis to Orlando, and that was NK862. Then we had Frontier from Orlando to New Orleans, and that was on November 701 Foxtrot Romeo. That was the Audi the Owl paint scheme right there. Then we somehow made this flight from New Orleans to St. Louis on the Southwest 737 MAX 8, and we had 8824 Quebec. And then we had 401 to Whiskey November from St. Louis to Tulsa, and that was a 19F right there. Then we picked it up with the Denver day trip for 7715 Echo from OKC to Denver and 23F, and then we had 85 27 Quebec from Denver to Oklahoma City. Delayed flight, but certainly a very good one there. And as you can see, somehow just 2 months later, we got the sister ship 8528 Quebec from Tulsa to Houston Hobby to kick off that big Pacific Northwest trip there in 12F. And then we got 8540 Victor to Indianapolis there in 5F as well. From there, we had Alaska Airlines Flight 500 on November 935 Alpha Kilo, a Boeing 737 MAX 9 from Indianapolis to Seattle, flight number 100 in seat 4F, so that was very cool, so I was really happy about that. And then we had Harbor Air on the this is the Twin Otter on floats from Vancouver Harbor to Victoria Harbor in seat number 1. What a cool flight that was, so looking forward to sharing that. Then we had, I believe, my shortest flight ever, coming in at 63 miles with this. This is going to be Pacific Coastal Airlines Beechcraft 1900C from, this is Charlie Foxtrot Papa Charlie Victor from Victoria International to Vancouver International. What a unique flight that was. That was very, very cool. And then we had the Air Canada Dash 8 in the toothpaste livery coming in here from Vancouver to Cranbrook, British Columbia. What a unique segment that was. Very, very unique right there. And then as you can see here, we had this WestJet flight from Cranbrook to Calgary on the Saab 340 in 1F. What a cool flight that was as well. A very unique one, to say the least, right there. Then from Calgary, we had this flight to Chicago O'Hare on this United Airbus A320 in 8F. So a very cool one right there. Okay, I thought I had it labeled wrong for a moment, but I did have it labeled right. And then we have this United Emirates Air J-170 from Chicago O'Hare to Indianapolis right there in 22A. 23A would then take us to this Southwest Boeing 737-700 from Indianapolis to Dallas Love Field in 23A, so that's certainly very nice right there. And the last flight of that massive trip was from Dallas Love Field to Tulsa, and it was on Southwest November 216 Whiskey November, yet another 737-700, so very nice to see that as well there. Then we had Tulsa to Chicago O'Hare on the American Eagle Embraer Air J-170, and this was 764 Juliet Bravo, which will appear again momentarily. That was 19A for that one. Then we had Chicago O'Hare to Appleton, Wisconsin for Oshkosh here, as you can see on November 416 Alpha Whiskey. So that was very cool right there as well. Then we had Appleton to Chicago O'Hare on November 470 Sierra Whiskey, and as you can see there, that was a Sierra J200 as well. And then we had 764 Juliet Bravo at the exact same gate of Chicago O'Hare to bring us back into Tulsa in 12F. What a cool flight that was, very unique, so that was absolutely awesome in my opinion. Then we had Allegiant coming back for the first time in forever. I believe it's been 7 years or so. It's been a very long time, but awesome to get back on Allegiant here with this Airbus A320 to Destin Fort Walton Beach Airport, November 284 November Whiskey and 4F. So really enjoyed that. That was awesome to get that, and I just had an absolute blast on that one. And then came back on 245 November Victor, definitely my favorite Allegiant 320 right there in 4F2. Great crew, great time. That was absolutely awesome. Then we took a little intermission before picking back up there with Tulsa to Denver on Southwest 737-700 in 18A. So that was awesome for 7745 Alpha. And then we had the California Zephyr, obviously, all the way back over to San Francisco. From there, we would pick up the Boston Celtics JetBlue Airbus A320 from my first JetBlue flight. So how cool is that in 6F, November 595 Juliet Bravo. So that was very cool to see right there, to say the least. And then we had the Gemini Jets model United 757-300 in the Continental Globe livery, 57869 from Los Angeles to Denver. So how awesome was that? In seat 9A, had an absolute blast right there, to say the least. Then we had this United Airlines Mesa CRJ-900 944 Lima Romeo from Denver to Tulsa in 18A. So that was yet another really great flight right there. From there, we took it into September with yet another Phoenix Denver day trip. Here is 403 Whiskey November from Oklahoma City to Phoenix, yet another 737-700. So we had 6F for that one, and then 6A for the next one from Phoenix to Denver on 949 Whiskey November. Rounding it out was 737 MAX 8 right here with November 8820 Lima right there back into Oklahoma City. So that was nice again too. Then we had 323 November Victor show up for both Spot LAX Allegiant flights, 5A and 5F respectively. And as you can see right there, both flights into LAX from Tulsa. So what a blast that was there on the Spot LAX trip, and very excited for next time there as well. As you can see, we have the Breeze Airways Airbus A220 inaugural flight from Tulsa to New Orleans. Rest in peace, but still awesome to get to be a part of the inaugural, as you can see right there. So that was absolutely awesome. Really enjoyed it there in 3A. What an awesome project that was, and looking forward to reviewing that in the near future along with all of these. Then we have the United Airbus A320 upgauge from what would have been my first United 319, and this was November 436 Uniform Alpha Evo Blue 320 back into Houston, and then from Houston IAH we went back into Tulsa on on the 737-900 and C-12F. So that was very nice too on 66897. 8673 Foxtrot appears again. This was the same one we flew from Denver to Tulsa to end out the Cabo trip. This one took us out to Phoenix on September 23rd, which I thought was really cool, in C-29A. So that was absolutely awesome as well for Southwest on their 737-800 right there. And then our returning aircraft was actually a MAX, as you can see right here, November 8772 Mike. So that was awesome to see right there on the double daily service on Saturdays to Phoenix from TUL. So that worked out perfectly. Next up, we have this Tulsa to Dallas Love Field flight in the Southwest 737-800, registered November 8561 Zulu. So that was awesome. As then we ended up listing for the flight that literally took off right next to it, got off the plane immediately, and was able to make this flight that was completely open on Southwest 737-800, registered November 8631 Alpha. So that was really cool right there, to say the least. Had the Austin spotting movement before then taking on November 8537 Zulu from Austin to Houston Hobby in seat 6F. And then lastly, we took on Silver One sticker to the Southwest 737-700, registered November 953 Whiskey November, with service from Houston Hobby to Tulsa in 17F. Finally starts to calm down a little bit here. Then we had the Delta Airlines Boeing 717-200 and C-26A from Tulsa to Atlanta. So that was a very nice flight right there. Before then taking on a Delta 757-200, the first ever one, which is really cool, 658 Delta Lima. I thought that was really sweet, from Atlanta to Baltimore, and that was in 17A. Then we had a really cool Southwest flight from Washington Dulles to Denver on the 737-800, registered November 8559 Quebec. And then we had the final termination segment there on the Southwest 737-700 back in Tulsa, and that was in November 469, Whiskey November. And then, of course, we had the American Airlines DC-3 flight this year, which was really cool, November Charlie 17334, so that was really cool. Then, of course, we had yet another same plane segment, but the problem was it was on the same plane, but the flight number wasn't the same. So we have Tulsa to Denver here on the 737-700 for Southwest, and yet Denver to Indianapolis, yet another Southwest 737-700. So both those were really cool. Before taking on Indianapolis to Chicago on this Airbus A319 for American, registered November 760 Uniform Sierra. Sorry about that, everybody. Then we had this American Airlines Boeing 787-9, really great to get another one from Chicago here to Dallas. Glad to knock out that segment. Registered November 826 Alpha November. And then we had a American Airlines 737 MAX substitution. So that's my first American MAX right there. Registered November 327 Sierra Kilo. So that was really cool as well. And then we had the most recent day trip with Denver, Las Vegas, Frontier, and Spirit. Oklahoma City, Denver on Frontier was E321 Neo. That was the Squirrel Monkey livery, so that was really nice. Then from there, we had Denver to Las Vegas on the Spirit Crowns livery, Airbus E320, registered November 632 November Kilo. That was the same one that AS flew when he was going to LaGuardia, so it was really cool to get a mutual plane there. And lastly, we had November 705 Foxtrot Romeo. That is the I'm forgetting what the it was an owl of sorts, but nevertheless it was from Las Vegas to Oklahoma City there on Frontier's Airbus E321. So I thought that was really cool as well. Sorry about that when he talked for that long and just list out all of that. Voice goes dead really quick. But here's the full graphic. I know some of these weren't flights like Denver to San Francisco and all that, but I just want to connect the dots as of to how we got where. I thought this was really cool. Same for Dayton, Cincinnati, those, and Louisville. Obviously all those weren't mentioned, but they were trips there, so definitely wanted to feature those. But excuse me, but what a cool trip, rather travel year of 2023 with many cool trips. Thought this was really awesome. Excited to expand on this in 2023 for now, excuse me. We have a bunch to do, and I'm really excited to see if I can knock out some new regions and certainly a bunch of places to go. Would really like to get here at some point. Not sure if it will be next year, but this area, of course, there's a bunch to do in that area, so hopefully to get to that area soon. But definitely was very pleased about all of this, no doubt about it. And also this portion over here, this was really cool to add to the map, so I was very happy about that. So many great flights, so many great moments and memories. I thought all of these lines like that was really cool, so that was certainly very cool to add all those. And obviously we have quite a few across the country. I've still yet to do a continental service, so I'm really hopeful to get to do one of those soon. and do a New York or Washington to obviously Los Angeles, San Francisco. You can see I've got there pretty much almost, but I just haven't got it all in one segment yet. So I'm hopeful to do that. I would say the closest obviously was the Seattle to Indianapolis leg, although Washington to Denver certainly had its fair share on making its case for that too, because that was a long one as well. So definitely on my bucket list to do a continental service here in the future. That would be awesomeness. But I really hope all of you are excited for all the content to come here. As you can see, there's a bunch of segments that we'll get to cover here on the channel. So looking very forward to covering each and every one of those. Just an absolutely filled map, as you can see there, with so much going on. So I'm looking very forward to covering all this with each and every one of you, and I hope that all of you are excited for it as well. Excuse me. 2024 is going to be awesome. Looking very forward to, life's just not going well when it comes to talking right now. Let's try that again. So I hope all of you are excited for the 2024 plans. I'll be really eager to see what we can knock out in 2024. It's going to be an awesome year. So many new adventures and experiences. So excited to see what this map will look like at the end of next year, and excited to add this new video series onto the channel. Of course, since we have all these flights to cover, so we might as well talk about them now. And again, the trip reports and all the various videos like the museums, model aircraft stores, plane spotting videos, and more will be coming out in conjunction with those at the applicable time. So I really hope each and every one of you are excited for those. I want to thank you all so much for watching today's video. Really excited for what's to come, and we have so much to look forward to. So with all that being said, everybody, that'll do it for today's video. Thank you all so much for watching. I want to thank each and every one of you for watching. My name is Redriveraviation. Take it easy, everybody. Stay safe. Trust the process. Do what you love and love what you do. My name is Redriveraviation. I want to thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you all soon. Redriveraviation, is signing off.